各位贵宾，赖副总统已经莅临现场。副总统好 ，Please welcome 赖清德 ，Vice President of Taiwan。我们也请各位贵宾用热烈的掌声来欢迎赖副总统莅临现场。副总统好 ，Ladies and gentlemen， 赖清德 ，the Vice President of Taiwan has arrived. Let us give him a very warm welcome. 欢迎副总统莅临现场，我们也请长官能够陆续的入席就座，谢谢。Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2023 Net Zero City Leader Summit. 各位在场的长官，还有所有的贵宾，欢迎莅临2023净零城市国际峰会。This summit gathers over 100 city leaders from around the globe for in-depth dialogues regarding the latest outlooks, solutions, and new propositions for smart cities. Speakers and city delegates will share their smart city and net zero implementation strategies, especially in two focal areas: transportation and buildings. Now, let me introduce the VIPs and guests of honor in attendance today. 现在就让我们为您介绍莅临现场的贵宾。我们也请唱名道的贵宾能够跟我们起身挥手致意。我们首先欢迎赖清德副总统 ，Vice President 赖清德，欢迎。接下来我们欢迎的是国发会龚明鑫主委。Minister 孔明鑫 National Development Council 总统府发言人 Kolas Yotaka Spokesperson Office of the President 欢迎 We would also like to give our warmest welcome to Marketa Pekarova Adamova 捷克众议院议长 Madam Speaker Parliament of the Czech Republic接下来我们欢迎到的是外交部李纯次长 Vice Minister Lee Ministry of Foreign Affairs 欢迎次长经济部林全能次长 Vice Minister Lane Ministry of Economic Affairs 欢迎次长We would also like to give our warmest welcome to ICLEI Gino Van Begin 秘书长 Secretary General of the Local Governments for Sustainability. Welcome. 接下来欢迎的是行政院能源以及减碳办公室林子伦副执行长 Deputy Executive Director, Office of Energy and Carbon Reduction Premier's Office. 那我们接下来还要欢迎到是我们工研院刘文雄院长，欢迎院长 Dr. Edwin Liu President of the Industrial Technology Research Institute, as well as the Senior Vice President, Industrial Technology Research Institute. 同时，工研院胡竹生资深副总以及协理，欢迎。Dear guests of honor, we would like to thank you for gracing us with your presence today. And to kick off the summit today, Mr. Kong Ming-Xin of the National Development Council will now give a welcome speech. Please welcome Minister Kong. 我们首先欢迎主委为我们说几句话，欢迎主委。Our first keynote speaker of the day will be Minister Kong Ming-Xin of the National Development Council. Let us give him a very warm welcome and welcome him onto the stage. Welcome, Minister Kong. 欢迎主委。
赖副总统以及这个艾德莫众议院议长，这是捷克的众议院议长。以及在座的各位先进，大家午安，大家好。那过去的3年，因为 COVID-19 的疫情的影响，那许多的国际的会展纷纷的停办，那或者是缩小规模。那今天呢，我们齐聚一堂，而且在智慧城市 展的基础之上，增加了近邻城市展的规划。那现在一共有43个国家跟地区，115个城市，共有1500位的国际贵宾来到台湾台北，那突破了2019年的疫情前的规模。而我们把近邻城市的峰会，也有超过360位城市的首长或代表团来共同参加，共同讨论如何让城市可以变得更好，因为城市的未来就是世界跟社会的未来。过去的2年，我个人带着许多国内的企业一起出访到包括捷克、斯洛伐克跟立陶宛以及美国。那大家看到我第一次提到的，不是半导体 ，anyway， 提到的是台湾跟这些国家，我们都有共同分享着自由跟民主的价值，然后才提到半导体 ，anyway。那我深刻的感受到，台湾跟许多的民主的伙伴是理念相同、价值相同的好朋友。那我要特别感谢捷克的埃德莫瓦议长有率领的160位的代表团来特别参加我们今天的峰会。另外一方面，我要在这里特别借用大家的双手，是不是让我们鼓掌一下？就是特别来自于乌克兰基辅市的副市长，他克服了一切的困难来参加我们的活动，是不是？我们给他一个掌声。今天我们在这里更证明了台湾并不是孤单的，因为好朋友都在这里。蔡英文总统在2021年4月的时候，世界地球日的宣示，2050年净零碳排是世界的目标，也是台湾的目标。苏贞昌前院长也在同年的8月宣布，这样的目标要入到法里面去。那行政院也通过了气候变迁因应法通过，那立法院也在今年的1月通过3读了这个法案。那另外，我们在包括国发会、环保署跟经济部、交通部所有等等的部会的努力、通力的合作之下，我们也分别在2020年的3月跟12月，分别公布了净零碳排的发展路径，以及12项的关键目标。那因应于这一次的这个净零城市展，国发会跟环保署还有其他的部会的合作，也将这12项的关键性的战略，通通把它翻译成英文，也公布在网站上，也请各位来指教。2022年，政府间的气候变迁的专门委员会，也就是 IPCC， 在公布了气候变迁的减缓报告，也特别提出，目前全球有1半的人口都居住在都市的地区，繁荣的经济活动，同时也造成了气候变迁的可能的增加，占整个排碳量可能高达67%到72%的比例。因此，净零转型不仅是世界跟社会的责任，同时也是城市间共同的责任。国际间现在已经有超过246个城市提出了净零的目标。台湾的6个首都呢，6个都，就是直辖市，也提出了相同的目标。大家共同积极的布局净零碳排的转型，为这样的目标而做努力。今天我们主要讨论的是城市的减碳的策略跟具体的方案。我们也特别邀请了工研院的刘文雄院长，以及地方政府永续发展理事会秘书长 Gino 来进行我们的专题的演讲。而后有2场的座谈会，有达到24位各国的正副市长有热烈的参与，反映出各界对于这个议题的重视。 也可以让我们台湾可以从中观摩学习，来加速2050年净零目标的达成。净零目标虽然是一个漫长而且具有挑战性的道路，但个人始终是讲，只要我们从今天开始，我们就不会觉得它是长久的。只要我们团结一起努力，这个挑战就一定能够克服。谢谢大家参与今天的盛会，谢谢。
好，谢谢主委，请您在前方的沙发区先行就座。请主委在前方沙发区先行就座。Thank you, Minister Kong, for joining us today. Now, Maketa Pakarova Adamova, Speaker of the Chamber of Deputies, Parliament of the Czech Republic, will deliver her welcoming remarks. Please welcome Madam Speaker Adamova.
Vážený pane viceprezidente Lai, vážený pane ministře Kung, vážení účastníci veletrhu Smart City Summit and Expo, vzácní hosté, 大家早。
敬爱的赖副总统，敬爱的龚主任委员，敬爱的智慧城市论坛及展览的参与者，各位贵宾，大家早安。
Je mi velkou ctí k vám dnes promluvit u příležitosti zahájení ZeroNet Forum zde v Taipei. Jsem velmi ráda, že účast na tomto významném veletrhu byla zařazena do oficiálního programu naší delegace. Byl to právě tento veletrh, který vzbudil zájem mezi řadou českých podnikatelů, kteří se do naší početné delegace přihlásili. Mimochodem, jedná se právě o největší delegaci v historii našich vzájemných vztahů a kromě stovky firem jsou v ní zastoupeny i zástupci univerzit, samospráv a vládních institucí.
这次台北举办的净零城市国际峰会开幕式之际发表演讲，使我很荣幸。我很高兴，这个重要的博览会被列入我们代表团的官方行程。正是这次展会引起了一些我们团内的捷克企业家的兴趣。我顺便一提，这是我们两国关系史中规模最大的代表团，除了数百家公司外，还有来自大学、市政府、州政府和政府机构的代表。
Téma Smart Cities je blízké oběma našim zemím. Česká republika i Tchaj-wan jsou vysoce urbanizované a rozvoj a kvalita života v našich městech je pro nás stěžejním tématem.
智慧城市这个话题与我们两国都有密切关系。捷克共和国与台湾都高度城市化，因此两国都很重视发展城市生活的质量。
Česká republika se může pochlubit různými světovými řešeními, díky nimž jsou naše města chytřejší a lépe obyvatelná.
捷克共和国在使用一系列使我们城市更智慧、更宜居的来自世界各地的解决方案。
Úspěšná chytrá města vědí, jak spravovat a analyzovat data o svých obyvatelích a jejich zvicích. Vedoucí představitelé měst by měli mít využitelné informace, které lze získat také z české technologie, která spojuje data ze satelitních snímků s pokročilými statistikami, strojovým učením a průmyslovou odborností, čímž vytváří virtuální encyklopedii fyzického světa ve prospěch podniků, vlád a naší planetě. Mezi českými účastníky je firma SpaceNow, která nabízí právě takové řešení.
成功的智慧城市知道如何管理和分析有关居民及其习惯的数据。城市领导者应该拥有可用的信息，这些信息也可以从捷克技术中收集到。 此技术将卫星图像数据与高级统计数据、机器学数据和行业专业知识数据相结合，创建一个有助于企业、政府和我们地球的虚拟的现实世界百科全书。捷克的团有一位参与者，一家名字叫做 Space No， 他就提供类似的解决方案。
Český průmysl je obzvláště silný v recyklaci baterií, což je velké štěstí, protože celá Evropská unie se připravuje na recyklaci 65% hmotnosti lithium-iontových baterií do roku 2025. Česká republika tak může poskytnout unikátní recyklační technologii pro tajvanské podniky, které potřebují vyřešit své potřeby v oblasti recyklace nebo se chtějí diverzifikovat do odvětví recyklace baterií. Jsem ráda, že se veletrhu účastní také česká firma IBG.
欧盟从2025年起要求必须回收锂离子电池重量的65%。捷克很幸运，因为在电池回收行业尤为强势。台商若需要解决他们在回收方面的需求，或希望多元化进入电池回收行业，捷克可以提供独特的回收技术。比如说，来自捷克的 IBG 公司也来参展。
České firmy přispívají k rozvoji obnovitelných zdrojů energie po celém světě a jsme hrdí na to, že Česká republika má již značnou spolupráci s Tchaj-wanem na projektech vodní energie, což se týká třeba české firmy Mavel. Doufám, že to vyslovuji správně, kolegové. Český pavilon také představuje nejnovější technologie pro skladování energie, jak lze vodík vyrábět a efektivně využívat, neboť vodík se brzy stane palivem současnosti. A opět takovou technologii nabízí jedna z účastníků z českých firm pro H2O nebo H2 Energy.
捷克公司为世界各地可再生能源的开发做出了卓越贡献，使我很高兴，使我感到自豪的是，捷克共和国已经与台湾在水电项目上进行了重要合作。例如，捷克公司叫做 Mavel， 希望发音的是对的。捷克馆还展示了最新的储能技术，以及如何生产和有效利用氢气的技术。因为氢气很快就会成为当今的燃料。然后有关此领域，我们由捷克公司 Pro H2 Energy 提供此类技术来参展。
Jedním z důležitých prvků Smart City jsou civilní bezpilotní prostředky. Česká republika je jednou z globálních bašt výroby UAV, což je fakt, který není všeobecně známý.
智慧城市的重要组成部分之一是民用无人驾驶汽车。捷克共和国是全球无人机生产基地之一，这一事实并不广为人知。
Vážení přátelé, jak vidíte, české firmy se neúčastní tohoto veletrhu jen proto, že sem zamířila naše parlamentní delegace. Je to zejména proto, že nabízí špičková řešení, která jsou kompetitivní a na tak náročných trzích, jako je ten tajvanský, věřím, že jistě uspějí. A vy, kteří jste přijeli z jiných částí světa, trošku omluvte, že tady dělám zejména těm českým firmám takové promo.
各位朋友们，如大家所见，捷克企业参加此次展会，并不是因为我们的议会代表团来了，这主要是因为他们提供的高端解决方案，即使在台湾这样要求很高的市场，也具有竞争力。来自其他国家的朋友们，请抱歉，我在这里为捷克企业、捷克公司做个广告。
Věřím, že účast na tomto veletrhu vám všem přinese nové příležitosti, přeji vám úspěšné jednání a díky, že vás přijelo tolik, že jste dorazili v tak hojném počtu.
祝大家在展会和本次论坛上取得圆满成功，并感谢大家的莅临。
谢谢。
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for joining us today. Now, please be seated right next to Minister Kong. Now, I would like to call Honorable Lai Qingde, Vice President of Taiwan, on the stage. Please welcome Vice President Lai. 接下来，我们恭请赖清德副总统致辞。
国家发展委员会龚明鑫主委、捷克共和国众院议长艾达莫娃女士、各界的贵宾、所有与会的好朋友，大家午安，大家好。今天我非常荣幸受邀出席2050净零城市高峰会。首先，代表蔡英文总统热烈欢迎，包括捷克共和国在内43个国家。以及包括基辅市副市长在内112个城市，超过300多位的贵宾参加今天的盛会。我非常感谢捷克共和国众院议长艾达莫娃女士率领了160个人左右的庞大访问团来到台湾，用行动表达对台湾的支持，也用行动阐述了朋友真正的意义。那特别是艾达莫娃女士今天在国会的演说特别提到，捷克现在会跟台湾在一起，未来也会跟台湾站在一起，不管任何时候都会跟台湾站在一起。今天很难得，基辅市的副市长也参与今天的盛会。那我想要引用艾达莫娃女士在国会演说的说辞，也来跟基辅市还有乌克兰共和国全体人民能够强调，台湾还有民主社会都会跟乌克兰共和国站在一起。今天站在一起，未来站在一起，以后任何情况也会站在一起。那我们非常非常清楚，气候变迁的议题已经不是单纯的环境保护的议题，它会影响城市的发展，也会影响社会的运作，更会影响人类生存。那刚刚龚明鑫主委特别提到，碳排碳排在全球的都市加总起来，大概占全球碳排的67%到72%左右。换句话说，每一个城市都站在对抗气候变迁的第一线。那我们也有责任，大家集思广益共同来解决。那我也再次引用艾达莫娃女士在国会的演说，要因应气候变迁，全国的城市都应该要站在一起，共同对抗。今天站在一起，明天站在一起，未来任何时候我们都站在一起。我们相信一定有办法解决气候变迁给全球人类带来危机的种种问题。最后，我祝福今天的活动圆满成功，成果丰硕，既嘉惠台湾，也能够造福全球每一个城市。谢谢大家，谢谢。
谢谢副总统，请您在台上留步。我们等一下要进行的是合影留念，现在为您提供摘要翻译。Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Taiwan, I would like to extend a very warm welcome, particularly to Madam Speaker Adamova and the city leaders, totaling from over 112 cities in 43 countries around the world. Madam Adamova, in a speech that she delivered earlier today, stated that the Czech Republic now stands with Taiwan and will continue to stand with Taiwan. So I would like to extend a very warm welcome to the Madam Speaker who has taken time out of her busy schedule to join us today. And I would also like to give my special welcome to Deputy Mayor of Kyiv. He also mentioned, and we also reiterate that Taiwan will continue to stand and support Ukraine. And finally, through city summits like this one, we can connect cities in the world by sharing our knowledge and experience as we work together to realize the vision of net zero by 2050. Once again, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all the CD delegates joining us today. 那我们接下来就要进行是我们今天的贵宾合影留念。我们现在邀请我们的龚主委跟我们捷克的议长也一起上台参加合影。Now, Madam Speaker, please also go on stage with Minister Kong for group photo shooting. 那我们现在邀请到的呢，在台上我们有我们的赖副总统，还有龚主委，以及我们捷克议长 Adamova 议长跟我们一起上台参与合影留念。我们请台上的贵宾为我们望向前方。So please look towards the cameras in front of you. 好，我们请台上贵宾为我们望向前方。Say cheese. 那我们请台上的贵宾为我们举起您的右手的大拇指，为我们这一次的活动加油打气，按个赞。So, Madam Speaker, please put your thumbs up for our photographers to take a few more photos. 好，谢谢，谢谢。那我们也请我们台上贵宾稍微望向我们的右手边，我们右后方有媒体区。我们现在右后方媒体区有在跟我们招手。So please also look towards our journalists, members of the media. To your right, say cheese. 好，谢谢，谢谢台上的3位贵宾。Thank you. Please return to your seat. Thank you for joining us. 那我们现在要请我们的赖副总统、龚主委跟议长，我们先行回到沙发区。我们请3位贵宾回到沙发区。我们现在要进行的是贵宾跟全体的代表的合照。Now, our photographers will take photos of everyone in attendance today. So, city delegates, please stay in your seat as we get ready to take a few more group photos. 那我们现在今日的主宾呢，稍后将前往楼下来看展。我们也请在场的媒体朋友们，能够在工作人员的引导之下，先行的移到场外。好，我们请我们的贵宾望向我们舞台上方的摄影人员。Please look towards our cameraman on the stage. Say cheese. 好，谢谢。那我们今天的全体合照呢，到这边圆满的告一个段落了。那我们现在要请我们的副总统、我们主委还有议长移驾到4楼的展区看展。我们再次的以掌声，谢谢长官今日莅临现场，谢谢副总统，谢谢主委，谢谢议长。Vice President Lai and the VIPs will now head to the exhibition area on the 4th floor. So let us thank them for joining us today with another warm round of applause. 谢谢，谢谢各位长官今天莅临现场。那我们也请媒体朋友们也可以从我们的 A 门移驾到场外，来继续的进行采访跟摄影。再次的感谢今日许多贵宾的莅临指导。我们接下来要进行的是专题演讲的议程。The next item on the agenda is a keynote speech by Dr. Edwin Liu, President of the Industrial Technology Research Institute Taiwan. The topic of his speech is Towards a Net Zero Society. Please welcome Dr. Liu.
Good afternoon, every delegates from all over the world, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming. My name is Edwin Liu. I'm the president of the ITRI, the Industrial Technology Research Institute. In Taiwan, we do market-oriented research. We serve as a bridge between academia and industry. We link Taiwan and international markets. So our research is to bridge the fundamental research to commercialization and to make it application to the societies. Originally, the organizer invited me to give a speech to talk about Taiwan's 2050 net zero strategy and policies and roadmap. I figure that probably the government official can talk better than I do. So I decided to modify the topics a little bit. My talk today is towards a net zero society. That means I'd like to share some information with every one of you to see how we can work together to make our society better, to reach 2050 net zero target all together as a group. Next. Last year, actually it's 2021, the year before. In April, President Tsai of Taiwan has announced that Taiwan is going to commit to the 2050 target as a whole. And then after the announcement, under the leadership of Minister Gong, we worked together, the cross-functional group in the government as well as the industry researchers all together. We developed a so-called Taiwan 2050 strategy and roadmap, and that was announced and published in March 2022. Since then, the government started working on the so-called action plans. So by December 2022, we announced the 12 key strategies. For me, I think it's actually 12 action plans in 12 domains. That covers the solar, hydrogens, innovative energies, and also the CCUS, carbon capture and utilization. That covers transportation, carbon sink, maybe like a green lifestyle. At the end also has the talk about the just transition. So that means we have encompassed the strategy and roadmap for Taiwan to reach 2050's net zero goal. Next. In E3, which is my organization, we started very early. We started in 2021, early 2000. We set up a so-called net zero sustainability strategy and strategy office in E3. We work together inside the entire E3. We have 6,000 plus researchers. We focus on 4 different areas, 4 different domains. The first one is the supply side, which means we have to develop the low carbon energy or clean energies supply. The number 2 is the usage side, the demand side. Now we need to increase the energy efficiency, how you use the energies. That's the demand side. And we also need to make the manufacturing, which is the third area, the manufacturing side need to be decarbonized. And finally, the fourth area is carbon capture from the environmental side. So that's in E3, we understand that there's no one can be ignored. Nothing can be excluded. So no one should be left behind. And you know that in 2021, IEA published the so-called 2050 strategy. And that indicates that from now to 2030, we try to deploy the technology as soon as possible. And from 2030 to 2050, we try to have the innovative new technology to address the 2050's net zero target. Last year, 2022, IEA published these so-called key milestones of the pathway to net zero emission by 2050. So they address the so-called the area like electricity, the industrial application, transportation, building, etc. But I think today we are talking about the net zero city. So we focus on transportation, buildings, and the materials. Okay? So first, let me talk about transportation. Transportation decarbonization. How are we going to reach there? We divide into 3 steps. The first one is to avoid. If you don't have to drive, then don't drive. Then you walk or you bike. That's to avoid. So in Taiwan, we design some bike lanes on the street. We also for example, this picture particularly walking in Tainan, we make the walkway more friendly, that people have a chair, you can take a rest when you are working, if you are tired. So we encourage people, if you don't have to drive, don't drive. That's avoid. The second step is transfer. What does that mean? If you don't have to drive alone, then take public transportation. So we build the public transportation and also encourage the carpooling. So that's the transfer part. And then the third one is to improve. What does that mean? The improve is if you really have to drive, then we make the vehicles low carbon or no carbon, the clean technology. That's electrical vehicles. That's the 3 steps to reach transportation decarbonization. Next. Now, besides all this technology advance or whatever we are going to do in the society, like avoid, transfer, and improve, we also need to do something in the business model. Sharing economy. Think about this. In Taiwan right now, we have 14 million motorcycles. 14 million. You can see the motorcycles all around. Average, 10 people has 6 motorcycles. I just surprised. That many motorcycles. And we have 8 million cars running on the street. That's in Taiwan alone. The question we have to ask ourselves, do we really need to have motorcycle? Do we really need to own the vehicle? So we need to use it, but we don't have to own it, right? So that's the key messages. So we start doing the sharing. Like here I put some example, like Uber, you probably know that. I rent Jeep car. These are all the rental cars sharing the vehicles. And we also have sharing the electrical motorcycles platform, like GoShare, like Waymo. We have also the sharing the electrical bike, Movo. So these are the platforms to make our high utilization of the existing vehicle or motorcycle or even the electrical bike. So this is the entire sharing economy concept. Next. And then for the technologies, now we have hydrogens, we have e-fuel. Hydrogen car, let's talk about that's a clean energy. E-fuel, that's the clean fuel that you can use on the ICE engines car. So this is the technology advancement. Next. Next. Now, next one, we talk about the buildings. Next. So the building we have to deal with the retrofit with the old building or the new constructions. In Taiwan, if you average it, talking about entire Taiwan, more than 50% of the house, the buildings, are more than 30 years old. Particularly in Taipei, more than 50% of the house are 40 years old. So in order to improve the efficiency, we have to do the solar reflective coating. We do the low thermal conductivity mortar and the coating to improve the insulation. That applies to the old and the new buildings. Next one. The energy management. After you build a house, then you have to use it. So operation, you need to also make it more efficient. So in Saran, we have the so-called passive energy community. That's the entire community. Some building doing better, some building doing a little bit worse. But average with entire community is a passive energy. That's the single-family house. We have a so-called smart house. So this is something we do with the buildings. Next. Material. Next. since the petroleum was discovered, I think about this. How much we depend on the oil and petroleum? Your car, what we wear, what we use, plastic, they all developed from the petroleum. We have to decouple from that kind of concept, so we need to have a low carbon material. So we expect in the future, 55% of the material will be recycled, 25% probably come from the CO2 based, and 20% probably from the biomass. So from this kind of new material source, we developed for the material that we need to use, like for the shoes, for the methanol, the propane, calcium carbonate, etc., etc. So we use a different way to produce the thing we need rather than produce from the petroleum. I think that's the low carbon material concept. Next. Now I use the plastic, the one with the bottled water. We see that the PET bottled water. Use that as an example to talk about the so-called low carbon ecosystem. The first one we have developed in E3 is the PEF, which is the plant-based material from the potatoes and from the corns to make the similar things as a PET water bottle. And then we already got the FDA's approval, so that can be used to put the water, the drinkable water. That's even better, we can put beer inside because the air insulation is much better than the PET itself. And then for PET, then we talk about recycle. So we say recycle the PET, that's rPET, versus the virgin PET, that's VPET. So we do the recycle PET to make the bottle even more useful, and then to reduce the energy consumption. And then finally, we have this sustainable microbial dye thermal the technologies. That's to produce this indigo color that without going through the chemical process. It's use a bio-based micro strength to produce the color. Next. So we talk about the building, we talk about the material, we talk about transportation. That's pretty much what we have in our lifestyle, right? But then the next one is we have to put everything together, integral. Next. That means the behavior has to change. The behavior has to change. Einstein said, if you continue doing the same thing again and again, and you expect the results will be different, you must be crazy. So, in order to reach 2050 sustainable net zero goal, we really need to change our behavior. And here I use the example of nudge theory. Nudge theory is that I produce something to encourage you, to suggest you to change your behavior so that you can contribute to the so-called carbon reduction. This example was in Japan. So that's whenever you use 1 kilowatt hour electricity, they will tell you how much CO2 you produce. And you feel bad. You feel bad, so you start saving the energy, saving the electricity. So produce some kind of message to encourage you to change your behavior. That's a nudge theory, and then that's something we probably can do here as well. Like Taiwan Power, our electrical company, they put down the savings saying that if you save the 1 kilowatt hour, I can give you a small amount of money for rebate. So this is kind of encouraging things to change your behavior, and then we can reach the so-called 2050 net zero much easier. Next. And besides that, we have to change behavior, then I think we need to all work together. So we say this all together, we build a better future. We need not only the scientists, we need a policy maker, we need the engineers, we need the specialists, educator. So we need everybody to work together like you and us. Thank you very much. I think today's presentation just give you a little bit flavor, and then I enjoy this information sharing. Thank you for coming, and wish you have a very successful trip.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. for your excellent presentation. Please return to your seat. And today we're also very honored to have Gino van Begin, Secretary General of Local Governments for Sustainability, as our second keynote speaker. The topic of his presentation today will be Cities and Local Governments, Forefront of Net Zero and Climate Actions. So, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Gino van Begin.
Your Excellencies, Honorable Mayors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Gino van Begin, and I'm the Secretary General of ICLE. ICLE is a global membership association of local and regional governments around the world that are dedicated to increase the sustainability in their jurisdictions. We work with around 2,500 cities around the world in 125 countries. We do our work through 24 offices, of which the ICLE Capacity Center here in Kaohsiung in Taiwan is present as well. With 500 plus experts, we implement 340 projects per year and have a turnover of around $33 million. Next slide, please. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are going in a million different directions, depending on which graph you look at or what stories you read. And we're doing that all at the same time. On the one hand, we have staggering news about rising renewable uptake and the enhancement in battery storage that will help to edge out fossil fuels. But on the other hand, we do have rising greenhouse gas emissions, increasing deforestation rates, and ever-worsening climate impacts. But we must unite behind science. Next slide, please. According to the latest report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, which is a well-renowned membership of 3,000 experts from around the world who are appointed by our national governments who are part of the Paris Agreement, to examine the situation of climate change. According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the concentration of carbon dioxide in the Earth's atmosphere is higher than it has ever been in the last 2 million years. The IPCC is absolutely explicit that the unprecedented rate of global warming that is ongoing is induced by human activity, and that the global surface temperature will continue to increase at least until the mid-century, irrespectively of all and any emission scenarios considered. The very latest report of the IPCC, the RR6 synthesis report, which was released last Monday, 20th of March, brings together the findings from 3 different working groups. Working Group 1 found that humans have already permanently changed the climate change. Working Group 2 showed, or is showing, what will happen if governments fail on their Paris targets. And Working Group 3 is setting out what we must do to avoid the worst impacts and what our best choices are. This report is another stark reminder that we must cut emissions in half by 2030 on the path to net zero by 2050 and to fill the gap on climate finance. Despite the promises that are offered by our various governments and the private sector combined, the commitments that are on the table are still not sufficient, and the IPCC thinks that we could pass the 1.5 Celsius degrees temperature increase in the next decade by 2035. There is some good news, though. Most industrialized countries have now peaked their CO2 emissions. That means, hopefully from now onwards, in industrialized countries, CO2 emissions will start to go down. A week ago, the European Union agreed to push for a phase-out of fossil fuels, saying that it will systematically promote and call for a global move towards energy systems that are free of unabated fossil fuels well ahead of 2050. The energy transition is definitely underway. It's also complicated and sometimes messy. See, for example, the various groups that have been opposing in the United States the governmental approval of an $8 billion oil drilling project in Alaska, the Willow oil field. At the same time, we just read the incredible announcement from Saudi Arabia Aramco of record-breaking profits of $161 billion US. This is a profit that is higher than the profits of BP, Shell, Exxon, and Chevron combined. So, this news came as Mozambique suffers horrendous damage from the worst ever cyclone in the southern hemisphere. Next slide, please. At ICLEI, we are therefore clear that our member cities must urgently and radically decarbonize our economies and our societies, and that they should reach climate neutrality, in particular net zero CO2 emissions, along with strong reductions in all other greenhouse gas emissions. As ICLEI, we recommend a holistic and integrated approach to tackling climate change, which can also support the achievement of sustainable development. Our Green Climate Cities program is our climate action program through which we offer global support to the ICLEI network, where reporting is enabled and progress is tracked over time. It is also the program that is the basis for our climate neutrality framework and our Net Zero Cities program. Next slide, please. You can move on because I just, yeah, thank you. The GCC program supports an integrated approach to climate action and looks at climate resilience, climate change adaptation, and mitigation across all sectors and themes in local jurisdictions. It functions as a climate lens on how to approach climate action at the local level in all governmental own operations and budgets, as city territory-wide, in all sectors and with all stakeholders. The GCC program offers tools to analyze, to act, and to accelerate climate action in cities, with the CDP ICLEI track functioning as a global reporting system. It is also our support mechanism to the signatories of the Global Covenant of Mayors that is operating worldwide. Next slide, please. Oh, you can move on with that one. Thank you. Next one. So, how do we define climate neutrality as a base for net zero cities? The target reduction of greenhouse gas emissions and greenhouse gas avoidance in own operations and across the community in all sectors to an absolute net zero emission level should be achieved at least by 2050 and rather by 2040, as science show that we are not on track. In parallel to this, it is critical to adapt to climate change and enhance locally climate resilience across all your sectors, in all your systems and processes. To achieve climate neutrality, local and regional governments should set up a clear goal and advance rapidly, following a holistic and integrated approach that leads to a wide range of co-benefits for sustainable development. Next slide, please. So our entry point is definitely looking from how can we ensure that our development at the local level, at regional level, is resilient. And from there, we provide guidance, as I said, with various programs and tools to analyze, to act, and to accelerate action. For us, there are basically 3 pillars of climate neutrality that need to be undertaken at city level. Next slide, please. Sorry. So the first one, as I said, to drastically reduce greenhouse gas emissions at city level and to halve actually those emissions by 2030 and to achieve climate neutrality and zero emissions by 2050 at the latest. Secondly, to look into how you can divest or mobilize divestment from fossil fuels and other polluting fuels and transit to renewables. For this, you should identify the repurposing of your priorities, define what co-benefits you can have from those reinvestment plans, and reinvest funds that you normally would have put in fossil fuel-based sectors into sustainable energy action. For example, energy efficiency, renewable energy, carbon sequestration projects, etc. And finally, if you cannot reach the entire neutrality, you should offset and compensate any greenhouse gas emissions that cannot be immediately removed, reduced, or avoided. You can do that by looking into programs that are United Nations recognized, that are voluntary or other. Ladies and gentlemen, next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. Globally, 2,300 subnational jurisdictions have declared the climate emergency worldwide. And around 1,000 cities and regions in the world have now already committed to climate neutrality by 2050, with very ambitious plans to be achieved by 2030. Some cities, in particular in Europe, have already achieved full climate neutrality in their own operations. Ladies and gentlemen, cities are at the forefront of tackling the climate crisis, but they cannot respond to such a challenge on their own. Instead, we need coordinated efforts across all levels of government, and it is required that all levels of government in a multi-level way work with one another to effectively address climate change. My hope is that in the very near future, we can reach far more cities, and in particular here in Taiwan, 6 cities have already committed to climate neutrality. We should reach more cities here in Taiwan as well as in the rest of the world. ICLEI stands with you and our members here in the country as well as abroad to help you achieving that goal. Thank you very much for your attention.
And thank you, Mr. Gino van Beggen, for joining us today. So please go ahead and return to your seat. And we will now proceed to the next item on the agenda, which is the panel discussion. Panel discussion 1, zero carbon urban transport. The moderator of this session is Zhu Hu, Senior Vice President, Industrial Technology Research Institute. So I will now turn the program over to Mr. Hu will introduce the topics for panel discussion 1.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Zhu Hu, and I come from Industrial Technology Research Institute of Taiwan. It's my honor to host this session. The session's topic is the trend of zero-carbon urban transport. According to IEA, urban transport accounts for 4 billion tons of CO2 emission, more than 40% of the transport sector's total emissions. There are many ways to reduce the emission, such as fuel and time saving, ride sharing, encouraging public transportation, and zero-emission vehicles. Among them, electrification of the transport, also pointed out by IEA, plays a very important role of global clean energy transitions. But to realize vehicle electrification, we face a huge effort to establish a new energy supply infrastructure to ease the range anxiety. It also involved the capability of utility network to handle the peak demand. Most importantly, we wish that the vehicle is charged from the green energy instead of from the coal-burning power plant. All these issues mentioned above raise great challenges for both governments and the private sectors. There are already quite a number of coalition efforts to tackle these challenges. For example, EU Framework Program funded Civitas project in 2003. It aims to redefine transportation practice and policies, giving cities the transition toward cleaner and better urban transport. Secondly, the zero-emission vehicle community is co-hosted by the Under 2 Coalition and the ZEV Alliance. Since its inception in 2018, the project has reached 126 governments and provides ZEV programs around the world to accelerate the transition toward zero-emission transport and achieve net zero emission by 2050. In 2022, Taiwan's National Development Council proposed the Taiwan 2050 net zero emission pathway and the strategy. The strategy emphasized the need for the transportation sector to adopt both industrial and the lifestyle transformation of the road vehicles. The industrial side, including promoting the electrification of vehicles, while the lifestyle one involved reducing transportation activities. Other than actively promoting public transportation and establishing infrastructure, promoting electric vehicles and utilizing information and IoT technologies are also necessary. In Taiwan, specific examples of these measures, including the U-Bike bicycle rental system, intelligent parking lots, and the intelligent transportation system using vehicle-to-vehicle or vehicle-to-infrastructure communications. In this session, we will invite city mayors and government officials to share their strategy and actions to promote zero-carbon urban transport. This is a great opportunity for us to learn from each other through sharing and discussion. I hope everyone can have a fruitful experience in the following presentations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hu, for setting the theme for the very first panel discussion of today. And now I would like to invite all the invited city delegates to each make a 5-minute presentation on the topic of zero carbon urban transport. Now I would like to call on Mayor T.J. Colley, town of Morrisville, United States. Okay.
You can sit on the seat. Oh.
Okay. It's I think the first speaker in line will be Mayor Colley.
Not your presentation, I see. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
We do apologize that
the
we.
The first one should be from the United States.
We have a mix-up with the.
Yep.
With the sequence of the presentation slides today, so we do apologize. We are encountering some technical issues here. So once again, we believe the first speaker in line.
Okay, yeah, this is the one. So to save time, maybe each one can sit on the seat and do the presentation. Is that okay with you?
Whatever you want.
Okay.
You have.
Oh, you have.
Oh,
yeah.
You can keep that one then.
Thank you.
It's yours.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. My name is T.J. Colley. I'm Mayor of Morrisville, North Carolina. We are on the East Coast of the States, and I really appreciate the honor of being here with you all today. I've been there for 6 years, and the really neat thing is that our town only has 32,000 people in it, but 40% of that is of Asian ancestry. So we are very diverse and very welcoming, and we're very glad to be here with you all today. If you can go to the next slide. So Smart Morrisville. This was a vision that was community-driven by the needs of our residents. We did a lot of internal and then external discovery and planning to get to this point. We started off with a town-wide strategic plan, and that helped inform a smart city plan, which came the year afterwards. And the whole idea is to use technology and data to improve operational efficiencies and positively impact resident quality of life while aligning with the town's strategic goals. So as you can see, that's the mission statement, which is pretty small up there, but if you get to it, you can see it. So everything that we do for Smart Morrisville is found online at bit.ly. That's smartmorrisville.nc, and that's down in Provincetown. So the next slide talks about a few of our strategic alignment goals. There's 6 of them there, but with 5 minutes, I'm going to just do 3 of them. At first, I'll start to talk about intelligent transportation. Transportation in our town of 32,000 people is not sufficient right now because we are right near Research Triangle Park in Raleigh, North Carolina, so a lot of traffic goes through our town. We often say that our town has plenty of roadways for the residents, but not for the whole region. So we're working really hard to use data to figure out which roadways need to be improved and use that data to get grants and things like that, which intersections we can work on. We're just 10 square miles, but we have lots of traffic coming through. So we work on that. We've also created a smart transportation system using a smart shuttle. So that's 15 nodes, and we get using a mobile app to where they need to be. So we're trying to get people transferred off out of their cars. We're also working on traffic signal timing, which is really important to try to get our first responders quickly. So, engaging our community, that's number 3. So from the very beginning, we try to identify what the needs of the residents were. And then we engage with them, lots of surveys and one-on-ones. And we found out that that was going to be a never-ending focus because it's circular, lots of two-way communication. And we've been going with data-driven public safety. Public safety is really important for small municipalities like ours. So we've been using data to determine the locations of our next 2 fire stations. And we've been able to reduce response times by partnering with nearby municipalities for our 911 systems. And we also have a dashboard for crime data on the horizon. And because we found that a smarter community can be a safer community. Moving on to number 4. The next slide, I made slide 4. Okay. We have a Connected Parks Initiative, and for that we've won a number of awards. One of our largest parks is actually in a floodplain. So it was very resource intensive to try to make sure that we knew when the park was going to be closed and when the kids can play their recreational sports and stuff on there. So we worked with a local vendor, a local IoT startup, and we had to design the sensors necessary to decide when the fields that need to be closed, then we put that together with the dashboard, and we can automatically close the gates of the park when necessary, so that everyone can save time, and our limited parks and rec don't have to go to the fields every day to figure out whether or not things are happening. We've also been working with other local municipalities who are using the same sensor data, and we also transfer it all to North Carolina Emergency Management. So whenever there's a storm event, we're able to automatically, without any human interaction, go ahead and get that information to where it needs to be to try to mitigate and reduce future flood events. That's also led to us using occupancy sensors to try to help our residents know when they can go to play on our fields and our tennis courts, etc. So, as everyone knows, supply chain has been an issue the last couple of years. So we went up the supply chain, and we actually do 3D printing for all the containment and enclosures for our occupancy sensors and for our flood sensors. So that's another thing you can do if you're having trouble, just do it yourself. Next slide, please. So our partner ecosystem, as you can see, is pretty robust. It's not just IDC, which was really instrumental as we were getting started, but it's also Microsoft. You see Google up there, so lots of work. But C Insights, the one towards the top right, that's a small IoT startup that we're really happy to work with a local company, help them develop new technology that then they can scale and move on to other people. So the thing that my CIO talked about so much was that you start slow, you do your discovery in the planning stage, and then you go ahead and scale it up as quickly as you can after you do your proof of concept. So those are the big things that he really wanted me to share with you guys, that do the work up front and don't chase projects or little pilots. Go ahead and do something smart. And then the last slide, awards and successes. That's just a few of them. We're very proud of our team that's been working really hard. And just this week, we learned that we had 2 more awards. We just got a dual 2023 Smart City recipient, and we'll be sending some folks to Denver later this year to try to learn even more. So appreciate it, and I look forward to hearing from everyone else about what they're doing and what I can bring back to Morrisville to help us be even smarter and work on our CO2. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mayor Colley, for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate your presentation. And our next speaker in line will be Hanna Hayanova, First Deputy President, Vysočina Region, Czech Republic.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for invitation to Net Zero City Leaders Summit. I will take you for a while to the Czech Republic, to a wonderful region, Vysočina. This next slide. If you ask where it is, you can see that Vysočina has got a strategic location in the center of Europe as well as in the center of Czech Republic. And the name Vysočina means highland in English, and it tells a lot about Vysočina's typical feature is rural, hilly countryside with many protected landscapes, areas, and nature reserves. And it's not only pure nature, but also our cultural heritage. Next slide, please. We are proud of. In Vysočina we have 3 UNESCO sites. 2 of them you can see here. On the left it's Zelená Hora, which on the right it's my lovely hometown, Telč. And there are many others, several buildings, palaces, castles, all around the region. There is something which is a little bit then complicated because tourism is a very important part for our regional economy. But in the combination with a large residential fragmentation, it brings a lot of challenges. Next slide, please. As you can see, it's not only the climate, which is now still frozen and snowy at my home. Yesterday I threw 2 centimeters of new snow. But also the urban transport and transport services, how to bring them more sustainable and keep Vysočina green for next generations. These challenges, on the next slide please, we are answering, or the answers for these challenges we are finding in the framework of the European Green Deal. As you can see, investing in smart and more sustainable transport is one of the key elements. And last month have showed us that it's a communication vessel with a clean energy. Please, next. Thank you. And both issues, so investing in smart transport and clean energy, are now the hot issue in the Vysočina region. Next, please. One of the main tools for achieving goals of reducing the greenhouse gas emission is hydrogen. Next. At the same time, the strategic goal of the Czech hydrogen strategy is to support economic growth, which opens up new opportunities not only for companies, but also for the public administration. And here you can see one of our first vision of hydrogen highlands or hydrogen hills. Vysočina feels the opportunity and would like to become a place for application of new hydrogen technologies. On the one hand, we are a major stakeholder in the regional development and want to support our companies in decarbonization. And on the other hand, we play a key role in public transport. For this purpose, the open platform Hydrogen Hills is being created, which aims to activate an idea of producing, storage and use of hydrogen across the sectors. It's open platform for public, academic, private sector. With our partners, we see the application mostly in the field of power industry and transport. And it's open, which doesn't mean it's also open to you. If you want to join us, don't hesitate to then ask me for more information or cooperation. Next slide, please. At the moment, we are aimed at the first projects like hydrogen station in our region, public, close to a highway, hydrogen batteries for service transport in companies, and hopefully also hydrogen buses in public transport. When I'm talking about hydrogen, I'm of course talking about the low carbon hydrogen. Next, please. Made from biogas plants, they are commonly used in Vysočina already, and other renewable resources like solar or wind energy. Yes, please. But about this, I will tell you more next time because we are at the very, very start. Next week, we are going to sign together with our partners the agreement, Hydrogen Hills, to start the realization of these projects I've presented to you today. So for now, I thank you for your attention, and if you want to join us, just let me know.
Thank you very much for joining us, Ms. Hanna Hainova. Our next speaker is Roy Elkabetz, head of the Committee of Urban Renewal Projects for the city of Tel Aviv, Israel.
I'm pleased to be here. Thank you very much for hosting us here. I will speak about partners of transport in Tel Aviv. On one hand, Tel Aviv is the Silicon Valley of the region. We'll speak about it. Technology, innovation, but on the other hand, we have a very big problem with transport. And I will argue, the only sentence that I will need to say, that the whole issue of net zero is about habits, about people, about their habits, not about technology. So let's speak about Tel Aviv for 3-4 minutes. Okay, next slide. Okay, I'll just say that Tel Aviv exists 114 years, so 200 years after Taipei, exactly. So it's a young city, 500,000 people live in Tel Aviv, and about 1 million are coming every day. Okay? Israel is 9.5 million people. That's it. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, let's see the paradox. Okay, we have 45 unicorns in Tel Aviv, so 45 companies that worth more than $1 billion. And we have 135 multinational companies and 120 and building on top of that ecosystem, but it's amazing. Okay? Okay, next slide. Okay, on and the company's next slide. Okay. So just think about it. You would have thought that Tel Aviv's transportation is amazing, and it's very advanced. Okay, next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, let's see this important. International measures. See, Tel Aviv is second in the world in terms of clean tech. Agritech, fourth. AI fourth. Smart city, 11th in the world. By the way. Okay, next slide. Next slide. Another one, which is easier, that's it. Let's speak about the smart city and the Tel Aviv. We identified in Tel Aviv 6 main subject issues that we are concerned. Transportation, planning, waste management, energy, economy, sustainable living. I'll speak about transportation. We have no light rail Tel Aviv, no metro. People are with their cars. They don't give up their car. The habit of having your liberty to have your car, the resistance, the change. Now, in the last few years, about, we spoke with people, with our people telling you, you have to leave the cars, you have to walk. And there is now, in the last 5 years, huge change. It becomes like Amsterdam, bicycles, electric scooters, like crazy. And then now we can see the change. And the issue of the mind, the psychology of the Tel Aviv citizens, although they are innovative, many thousands of engineers, the issue of to explain the connection between the future, the habits. And I think this is the main issue. How we do it? Public transport. Now it will be in 3-4 months the first line trail in Tel Aviv. In the next 3-4 years, another 2 lines. So we'll have in 5 years 3 lines. And then we'll have metro. And then we'll do the change. And I think our mission is to get to 2050 with 0 net. But it was a really big political issue about it. And I think our governments put the minds and the hearts of it. And to the next slide, I think we'll do it. Okay. I don't know if you know about the C40 cities. 96 cities in the world gathered together. Tel Aviv joined in 2018. 96 cities that hold 20% of the world economy. Tel Aviv joined, it represents the say of our mayor of Tel Aviv that we want to go this path. So, okay, next. Okay. To summarize, our goal, by the way, 2050 is too long, far away. So we decided 2030 to have 50%. It's close. And then it's a mission that you can follow. So, and we will achieve it. So 2030, half. And 2050 will be net zero. And I think now we are in our way after about 5 years, and we have another 5 years. So thinking of catastrophic transport problem in Tel Aviv in order to get rid of this problem. And although Tel Aviv is a super innovative city, with hundreds of companies, high-tech companies, my argument is that it's all about habits. Habits, psychology of people to change the habits. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Alkabetz, for joining us. Our next speaker will be Cammy Day. He's the leader of the Council of Edinburgh, United Kingdom. Please welcome Mr. Day.
Good
afternoon, and my greetings from Scotland, and of course the capital of Edinburgh. You may have seen that just last night we got a new First Minister, and I hope he puts his money where his mouth is and invests in climate change. On the 7th of February 2019, the City of Edinburgh Council declared a climate next slide, please. So on the 7th of February 2019, we declared a climate emergency and set our ambitious target of net zero by 2030. And I think it's good to set a bold, ambitious target and do everything we can to get to that. We all know that transport is the biggest single contributor of carbon emissions both in Scotland and across our own city. So we need a bold new action plan that focuses on a fully accessible, sustainable, efficient and safe transport system across our capital city. Our answer to that is our city mobility plan, which was agreed in February 2021, currently agreed up until 2030. It sets itself apart from the traditional transport strategy of the world, and that focuses not on the movement just of people, but how we actually see moving around the city in the marginal circumstances, but how we create better places for health, for well-being, and as a result, prioritising more active and sustainable trips. And ultimately, our plan as climate emergency at the heart of everything we should be doing. Next slide, please. Oh, actually, next one. I'm sorry, I just see it. So at the background of this, we set our challenges in a number of areas in terms of our 2030 target. Edinburgh's growth is also one of the biggest in the UK, with London. Edinburgh is the biggest economic driver in the whole of the UK. We know that congestion and goods and traffic stuck have a huge impact on the cost and productivity of businesses and public services, and of course, congestion also adversely affects the quality and safety of our streets. We will tackle this by managing demand on our roads. We also need to tackle the huge issues in Edinburgh about poverty. In one of the most successful cities in the UK, we still have 1 in 5 children in poverty. And in terms of health and well-being, we need to change the inequality in the transport accounts for over 1/3 of the total nitrogen oxides in our city. And in terms of safety, that we have vulnerable road users such as pedestrians, cyclists, and children, and much more. We need an inclusive public transport system that's accessible in many outlying parts of our city, where car ownership is low and contributing to isolation. So we need to be more inclusive in our approach to ensure that everyone plays their part in the daily tackling of climate change. And in terms of place thinking, we need to make sure that our streets and our communities are too often dominated by traffic. We need to change. Next slide, please. I think we're quite clear, and my colleague touched on people, the big change in all technology in the world, and we need people to help change that. Our plan reflects 3 years of engagement with key stakeholders across our city to contribute to our plan to get to 2030. And that policy changes by politicians and government are what will make that change to allow people to change their lives. Our plan sets out a requirement to maintain affordable fares and public transport and supporting for passengers and flexible ticketing options. Next slide, please. I think we highlight as well that we need the key policy drivers in terms of expanding the mass rapid transport network. We need, in terms of the north of the city, we're having a huge new development grant to the south of the city, the new biowater, bringing science and technology together. And all of that needs to ensure that we have an integrated public transport system that the city owns and promotes active travel across all of the city. We're investing a huge amount of money into walking and cycling network across the city to allow people to not have to use their cars, and looking now to introduce a low emission zone into the city to try to tackle the air pollution. Next slide, please. Big places at the heart of what we do, providing a strong focus on placemaking that creates good street designs and promotes our 20-minute neighbourhood concepts, particularly the city centre, where we're trying to support the creation of dense mixed-use developments which supports public transport and reduces the need for long-distance journeys. Next slide, please. I'll just skip this on. I think this is quite clear. We've got 15 key performance indicators that we need to monitor. Every 2 years we'll be evaluated to make sure that Edinburgh's target of 2030 reducing car kilometres by 30% by 2030 have maintained, which is 10% above our national target. So the age when we've been ambitious and we do everything we can to achieve that. Next slide, please. So we have a big push for 20 million neighbourhoods, and I hope that in time by 2030 we can create everything that someone needs within a 10-minute walk from their home, whether that be local library, the shops, the parks. And that's again another mission for us to co-locate services across the city, police, health and local government, to join their services together, saving costs, saving climate, and need for people to travel across the city as much, and deliver smart city strategies for everyone access to services online. Next slide, please. This slide shows that we did do an extensive consultation across the city, and over half of people responded want to see a widespread environmental change in our streets and spaces, which is what we're trying to do, to open up our streets and spaces for people to enjoy rather than be jam full of traffic. Co-designing key spaces is the mission of what we're trying to achieve. Next slide. So this just shows a part of the city centre where we're trying to create a walkable city centre at the heart of our World Heritage site. It's enabled by a primarily pedestrianised road, so you see these images where there's no traffic hopefully at some point, and a city centre that's inclusive and accessible for people of all ages, and a network that is connected to the city centre to the outlying parts of the city. Next slide, please. And this shows our vision for one of the main streets in the city centre, which is George Street. So we are going to extensive longitudinal piece of work to engage with communities, the businesses that work and live along this street to create something that's truly amazing. The issues we've got at this conflicts with the needs of businesses, that people will no longer be able to park in the streets to attend all the local businesses. We need to provide access to the street for people with disabilities and deliveries. And we no access to the street for buses, public transport and taxis, so we do need to think about those issues that again sets out a bold mission for us. Next slide, please. These two slides on the left show the George Street as it is now, and where we hope to get to where it becomes a more user-friendly street for people to enjoy, that's our mission to do that. Last slide, please. These show the city's main action plans in terms of active travel, air quality, parking, etc. And they all link into the city building plan and our planning, our city plan 2030, which is an overarching plan to build the city successfully over the next years. And the same 2030, 7 years to get there. So instead of the lower ambition or the capital city development. So last slide. Yep, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Day. And for the next presentation, please welcome Julie Talty, Deputy Mayor, Redland City, Australia.
Thank you very much. The first slide. Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to tell you about our Redlands Coast, which is a small town on the edge of a very large city in Queensland. Redland City commits to a future that balances protection of our natural assets and unique lifestyle while embracing smart local and regional solutions that improve the livability, productivity and sustainability of our city. We are exploring opportunities to reduce council's carbon footprint and position the city to meet our carbon reduction commitments, including delivering the climate positive Brisbane 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games as a venue and host city. I'll change slide, please. Redlands Coast takes in a city of around 160,000 people in southeast Queensland. We are part of Australia's fastest growing region and the region which will host the Brisbane 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games. As a host venue for one of the Games sports, Redlands Coast can expect a growth boost with unprecedented international focus on our area as people tune in to watch the world's biggest event. With its coastal climate and relaxed bayside lifestyle, we have the advantage of being just a 35-minute drive away from the heart of Brisbane. So while we have only 160,000 residents, we're on the peri-urban area of the 2.2 million people of Brisbane. And we are an hour's drive from the internationally renowned beaches of the Gold Coast, which is another large city with well over 1 million people. We are a 30-minute drive from major freight and transport hubs and the Port of Brisbane, the International Airport of Brisbane. And we're just across the bay from one of the most magnificent holiday islands you can imagine, North Stradbroke Island, or Mildura, which is the second largest sand island in the world. As it has been known to the Quandamooka traditional owners for millennia, Mildura is a place of natural beauty. We also have communities living on the southern Moreton Bay Islands. Like Mildura, these are serviced by water taxis and barge vehicles, and this makes us somewhat unique in the Australian setting and gives us specific transport challenges. Redlands Coast is a metropolitan city with a significant island population reliant on ferry connections to the mainland each year. And we are a naturally wonderful place, and our community highly values our environment and the progress towards zero carbon. Next slide, please. As a city, with island communities and a high proportion of commuters, our transport challenges position Redlands as an ideal testbed for trialling new transport technology and energy solutions. We have hosted one of the first trials in Australia for a driverless shuttle bus that was tested on one of our southern Moreton Bay Islands, Carragara. The island community embraced this. We also then were able to progress that trial to the mainland, to one of our much more populated urban areas at Rady Bay in Cleveland in 2019. The Rady Bay trial was the second phase of the first ever deployment of a long-term on-road autonomous electric vehicle trial in Queensland. This trial helped transport planners understand the physical and digital infrastructure required to enable and support the operation of autonomous electric shuttles, and the role that autonomous vehicle technology can play in meeting future transport needs. In Redlands Coast case, they can provide cheap, clean and efficient links to major transport, commercial and retail and medical centres. As an aside, we have also been trialling the use of recycled products to build roads, particularly plastic drink bottles, containers and old tyres. We see great potential in this as well as substantially reducing waste to landfill. Next slide, please. We also have been looking at our hydrogen future. Redlands City Council is committed to a future that balances protection of our natural assets and unique lifestyle while embracing smart, logical, local and regional solutions that improve the livability, productivity and sustainability of our city. We are exploring opportunities to reduce Council's carbon footprint and position the city to meet our carbon reduction requirements and commitments. This includes delivering a carbon-positive Brisbane 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games as a venue city. We are partnering with industrial leaders to investigate alternative sources of energy that can provide environmental, community and economic benefits. Next slide, please. We see green hydrogen as a big part of our future, and we are already at the forefront of Queensland's hydrogen market. And the image you see there is our city's mayor with one of the first hydrogen vehicles that was brought into Queensland. In 2019, we explored opportunities to co-develop a hydrogen demonstration plant as an entry into the Australian hydrogen market. By 2021, we produced the first green hydrogen at Redlands Research Facility in Cleveland and serviced the Queensland Government's initial fleet of 5 hydrogen vehicles, with a timeline of 2025 for fully converting to electric and H2 vehicles. We see potential application for this green hydrogen, produced using solar power across public transport, passenger vehicles, the marine transport network and for use in heavy machinery. There is now a focus on testing new hydrogen electrolyzers and their ability to develop clean energy for all mobility types. We see great advantage in being able to produce green hydrogen locally to power eco-friendly transport and facilitate the transition to zero carbon energy for our city. Next slide, please. The application of green transport alternatives is gathering momentum on Redlands Coast. The Queensland Government has invested in 2 hydrogen fuel cell buses to service eastern suburbs of Brisbane from the Transdev depot in our city of Redlands Coast. Transdev, the metropolitan bus service provider, is also working with suppliers in building the necessary hydrogen supply infrastructure and upskilling staff. Transdev also operates Australia's first 100% sustainably powered, full-size and state-of-the-art buses powered from rooftop solar energy from the Redlands Coast depot. Meanwhile, the planned extension of the Brisbane Metro to Calabar on Redlands Coast's northern border with Brisbane brings this opportunity for us to connect a fully electric, high-capacity, capital city transit system. And this is due to start next year. Next slide, please. Redlands City Council is committed to becoming a zero carbon community, with our work on green transport options being a key part of that quest. We are also currently discussing with the Queensland Government the potential to collaborate on a recycling enterprise precinct for our city and surrounding cities. We are excited to explore the potential to create a value chain that could see businesses and research companies clustered in proximity to recycled materials. Next slide. Redlands City Council also has an economic development and investment group whose role is to make it easier for businesses to invest in our Redlands Coast City and its zero carbon initiatives. The team provides a single point of contact for investors within council, as well as assisting them with selection of sites for development and connection to relevant local businesses, as well as state and federal government agencies. It also provides assistance with undertaking the local regulatory and investment landscape. Thank you for the opportunity, and I'll just take a moment to point out those images of our beautiful Island City. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Talty. For the next presentation, please welcome Artur Szymczak, Deputy Mayor, Lublin, Poland.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to be here with you today in the smart city in Taipei. And as to present a smart solution from Lublin, I will talk about what we have done so far and what we are planning for. From previous Lublin developed strategy in science 2013. Lublin has constantly upgraded the level of human intelligence. It implements high-tech solution in line with Human Smart City 3.0 paradigm. Digital transformation shows that a municipality has become innovative and aims to improve efficiency of public services as well as improve transparency. Residents expect a high standard of life, including speed and ease to contact municipality on administrative matters, convenient and intuitive access to public services and public data resources from any location. And without leaving home is increasingly important. COVID-19 showed that is a desired trend for cities. The value moving in this direction was demonstrated during COVID-19, when most services were delivered online. Lublin has managed to implement digital services in many areas of the city's operation: education, urban planning, finance, and customer service. This trend continues. Lublin is one of the few cities in Poland to have implemented remote learning in a unified cloud solution during COVID-19. Now Lublin is seen as a leader in modern cloud solution thanks to the Edu-Lublin project, which is the process of computerization of Lublin's education. It can safely be said that despite the enormous effort involved in developing the concept, adapting as IT systems and implementation phase today, looking at the different level of services provision that the QS ago. This is reflected in the quality, speed, and ease of dealing with official members. Residents welcome the change because it improves the quality of life. Another significant area where smart city have an impact on the quality of life of living residents is transforming the city's energy mix. It had to be done due to global energy crisis and pressing need to reduce carbon emission and achieve energy security and efficiency also in financial terms. The demand for the energy is constantly growing. At the same time, its protection from fossil fuels is a threat to the environment. So it also impacts people's quality of life and health. Modern transport is gradually dominated by the electromobility. It is therefore necessary to diversify energy sources and shape a sustainable zero-emission transport system, user-friendly and environmentally neutral. Lublin has been developing a public transport system based on modern low and zero-emission vehicles since 2010. Lublin already meets the 30% threshold for zero-emission vehicles. In the entire fleet we are about 38% rate. It is at the forefront of electromobility system in Poland. We will continue this trend. From August 2023, passengers in Lublin will also buy services by the first hydrogen bus in Lublin. In order to learn about hydrogen technology, last year we carried our test with hydrogen bus in Lublin streets. Due to the increasing demand for energy and the energy crisis themselves, a photovoltaic farms is planned for the charging of the city's electric buses. This is another investment aimed at implementing innovation, innovative and ecological solution for city institutions. An example of this is the construction of a photovoltaic power plant for the wastewater treatment plant in 2020. Renewable energy covers about 80% of the overall electricity needs for the facility. The development of renewable and zero-emission energy sources concerns not only the transport sector, but above all the construction sector. Efforts should be made to reduce low emission through the implementation of clean technologies in buildings and the retrofit energy in the efficient facilities. A pilot green building is under construction in Lublin. It will be a transport hub combining rail and road in one place. Metropolitan Transport Hub aims to take Lublin to the next level in the development of sustainable suburban mobility system. Transport Hub comprehensively implements smart green buildings, environmentally friendly and extremely energy efficient. This project was recognized in the 11th edition of the Green Building Awards 2022 in the Best Green Project category. Particularly important in this respect is spreading information among residents and businesses about energy resistance and themselves. By inactive residents themselves improve our own quality of life. Lubis universities are partners in this process. Universities and cities authorities conduct research into generation, optimization, and energy storage technologies. From this place, I would like to express many thanks to the people of Taiwan for the help you gave my city in the crisis caused by the war in Ukraine. Thank you very much for your invitation.
Thank you for joining us today, Deputy Mayor Shemchek. For the next presentation, we would like to welcome Gustavo Henry Costa, Prefeito of Guarulhos, Brazil.
Good afternoon, everyone. Such a pleasure to be here. So we talk about train of zero carbon urban transport. But first of all, I will introduce my city. This next slide. Our GDP are about $12 billion, greater than 8 Brazilian states. Our population is about 1,400,000 people. Next slide, please. Another overview. Home of the largest airport in South America, about 4 million passengers per year. And we are 20 kilometers to São Paulo downtown, who is the biggest city in Brazil. So next slide, please. The context of Brazil. Reducing or eliminating urban transport-related emissions is a complex issue, but one of its key factors is how this transport is powered. There is a global trend around electric means of transportation, but going electric is not always going to translate in emission reductions. If the electricity production itself is heavy on emissions, the use of electricity could lead to less benefits than expected. Brazil is one of the few countries where the correlation between electric and urban transport and emissions reductions could be made. And I tell you why. Over 80% of Brazil's electricity comes from renewable sources. The contribution of biomass to the generation of electricity is also worth nothing, as Brazil is a key developer of the new technology on this field. Next slide, please. Next one. Yes. Electric train and public mass transportation is an issue all cities share regarding urban transportation efficiency is providing reliable public mass transport solutions. Ethanol and biodiesel both are commonly used fuel sources for human vehicles, and federal law mandates that all gasoline and diesel sold must have a mix of these renewable fuels. 100% of the municipal bus fleet of Guarulhos runs on biodiesel fuel. Electric-based mass transport solutions from the stand of carbon emissions are also a very efficient approach to take. The main issues Brazilian cities face in adopting these solutions are associated with the investment needed for this transition and the complexity of the implementation of the sum of the solutions. Next one, please. One more. So here is one of the solutions. Guarulhos was able, through the support of a giant initiative of the Brazilian Development Bank, BNDES, and the German Development Bank, KfW, to deepen studies for the implementation of 12 kilometers of a light rail vehicle, LRV, infrastructure. While still in the pre-viability stage, these studies show that the adoption of 12 kilometers LRV service could represent a reduction of 16 tons CO2 a year. Rail mass transportation solutions also have an added reliability and comfort factor that can entice citizens to adopt them over individual transport. The total investment cost to implement such a project was estimated in 1.6 billion Brazilian reais. It means $300,000. The implementation of effective carbon market solutions could help to improve the economic viability projects. Next one, please. One more. And this is another solution. The International Airport of Guarulhos is also receiving a Brazilian clean mobility technology called Aeromóvel, a kind of APM solution that runs on pneumatic propulsion on an elevated guideway. It's a win. This equipment will connect all the airport terminals with the train station of the Metropolitan Trail Lane. Next one. It's like a video. I don't know if we can play it. Okay, this video simulates the new type of diagnostic. It's supposed to be a sound, but this is the line. 8 stations, 12 kilometers, and these stations is around the suburban city. Traditional subway costs per kilometer approximately $200 million, and this technology costs $20 million per kilometer, so it's much more cheaper. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Henry Costa. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. And our next speaker will be Mayor Jacek Jaśkowiak, Poznan, Poland.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Poznan is exactly in the middle between Berlin and Warsaw. We have about 540,000 citizens. Now also about 60 to 80,000 migrants, friends from Ukraine. And the Poznan is about 263 square kilometers. Maybe some data. If we see the travels, if somebody travels by car, by petrol engine, it is about 192 grams CO2 per person per kilometer. With diesel it is a little bit less. If somebody is traveling by bus, it is 105 grams CO2. And one mature tree absorbs about 22 kilograms CO2 per year. We have in Poland 2 million trees. We started 3 years ago the action to increase the number of trees, but if we even in 3 years increase the number by 500,000 trees, we need 10 years for these new trees to have the absorption for 22 kilograms. And one tree is able to absorb about the CO2 of one person traveling 115 kilometers by a car with the petrol food and diesel 129, with bus about 210. So we think the best way to change the city is the 50-minute city concept presented by Professor Carlos Moreno. And not only the center of the city, we try to change the whole city. And short distance concept, in my opinion, it is the best way for us. We invest, of course, in the cycling infrastructure. We managed to increase the number of people using bikes in 7 years from 2% to 11%. It is a lot, and we invest in such infrastructure like in Copenhagen. It is quite expensive, but it is quite safe, especially if we have to change some habits if it has to be safe. We have some counter for bicycles, and we see, for example, in 3 years' time, in one place, the number increased from 15,000 to 49,000 people using it. It is a lot. And of course, we have trams, we have also buses. We invested in electric buses. We have at the moment totally 334 buses, and it is the number of electric buses that is is 58. We also ordered 25 hydrogen buses. The problem is, of course, if we have the electric buses, where is the electricity from? If it is from green, okay, but the same as with the hydrogen. We invest, but the best way, in our opinion, is to reduce distances. And if we see now the numbers, the full consumption for our public company, which is responsible for public transport, they consume a year 8,600,000 liters of diesel. And it is about the emission, it is 23,000 tons. And if we see the trees we have 2 billion trees, it is about 44,000 tons. It means the half of the absorption we have from our trees in the city, we use only for public transport. And we have, of course, additional individual cars. And in our opinion, it is not so simple to reduce even in 10 years. If we have so many cars, this reduction of CO2. And 1 liter of diesel, it is 1.7 kilograms of CO2. And if we see the numbers, then we see what challenge we have before us. It means even if we invest a lot in public transport, even if we buy additional or all electric buses or hydrogen, it is even a challenge. And so, like in Scotland, like in Tel Aviv, the most important thing is to change some habits because people are speaking about climate changes, they are seeing a lot of problems, but to change the habits, to go walking, not for 1 kilometer using a car, this is the biggest challenge we have. So thank you for being here and thank you for this interesting discussion.
Thank you, Mayor Jaśkowiak. Our next speaker will be Mayor Brad West, Port Coquitlam, Canada.
Well, thank you very much and good afternoon, everyone. I just want to begin by thanking the people of Taiwan for their hospitality. It's been a wonderful trip so far. Next slide, please. Port Coquitlam is in the heart of Metro Vancouver in British Columbia, Canada. It's a fast-growing city of more than 62,000 people. And it's well known and unique in our region for its very walkable downtown core and strong employment and commercial base, which has really been to our benefit as our residents are less likely to have to leave our community to go to work. We have, as many cities do in British Columbia, unparalleled access to the natural environment. It makes it a very livable community. Next slide, please. One of the biggest projects that our city is engaged in is the revitalization of our downtown. It's been informed by years of consultation and best practices in urban planning. And we're finally at a point where the talking is over and the action is happening. It's very rewarding to be mayor during this time. The city is very much taking a leadership role in this process, being very hands-on. It means that we've created a common vision for a walkable, pedestrian-friendly, and cycling-focused downtown, and that we are convening interested parties and property owners to work with us together towards making it a reality. In addition, the city is doing something that it had never done before, which is to strategically acquire properties itself and take a leadership, hands-on role in the redevelopment. Next slide, please. Port Coquitlam is also a member of a regional level of coordination within Metro Vancouver, which brings together 21 cities representing 2.8 million people. And we're served by 2 organizations, the Metro Vancouver Regional District and our public transportation and transit agency, TransLink. TransLink is governed by the region's 21 mayors who form a mayor's council. And I'm delighted to tell you that this past December my fellow mayors elected me as chair of the Transit Mayors Council. In addition to that, we have a 41-person board that governs Metro Vancouver. Next slide, please. Metro Vancouver is guided by Metro 2050, which is the region's growth strategy. And the hallmark of this strategy is an urban containment boundary that restricts where development can occur. Its intention is to ensure that there is no sprawl, that we're building compact communities with low carbon footprint, and preserving our access to natural areas. And so outside of that urban containment boundary, there is no residential development permitted. Now, Metro Vancouver is going through significant growth. Our population is expected to grow by over 50,000 people per year due to record high immigration levels coming to Canada. And so our challenge will be to maintain the livability of our region while accepting the newcomers to Metro Vancouver. There is a tremendous focus right now on building housing rapidly, and particularly affordable housing. Next slide, please. Now, you can't build housing without talking about transportation. And so Transport 2050, which is our plan for the region's transportation system, is very much married with the Metro Vancouver plan. We see urban planning and transportation planning as soulmates, in fact. Transport 2050 was unanimously endorsed by all of our region's mayors, and it represents the largest ever increase in transit service throughout Metro Vancouver. It relies very significantly upon an expansion of bus service because it can be deployed very quickly and is much more cheap than some of the expensive rapid transit projects that we have. We are moving towards a 100% electric bus fleet. In British Columbia, we're blessed by the fact that our electricity comes from hydro. Our current challenge right now is how to fund that expansion. And we're working with our partners in the provincial and federal government to do that. Our focus at the end of the day is very much on moving people, not on moving vehicles. Next slide, please. I just want to conclude by noting that as we all gather here as leaders, it is a perilous time in our world, and I'm delighted to be here and to spend time with all of you and learn from you. And as we do that, learning from each other, and we're working together, and we work to prosper together, I think it's so important that we remember that we can never compromise on our values. We can never walk away or set aside our shared values and our commitment to democracy, to human rights, to the rule of law. And in that respect, I want to say that the people of Metro Vancouver and the people of Canada are proud to stand with Taiwan and proud to stand with the people of Ukraine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor West. Thank you for your words of encouragement. And for the next presentation, we would like to welcome Mayor Konrad Fiolek, Rzeszów, Poland.
Dear mayors, dear guests, our city, Rzeszów, has been selected for the European Net Zero City Mission by the European Commission. Our smart city philosophy and net zero challenge are the two main elements of our strategy, not from this year, but for many years. For 15 years we have innovation in the plans of our city. Next slide, please. Normally we are not so big city with 200,000 citizens, but we are the first big city next to European-Ukrainian border, and in war crisis, in the peak of crisis, we had 100,000 refugees in our city, so almost 50% of our new citizens. Now our city is very strategical because through our city, humanitarian and military aid is sent to Ukraine. Next slide, please. As I said, we are now in the Net Zero City mission, but for several years we have been trying to be smart, and from
2022 also to be net zero city. Our main changes and main areas of interest are, next please. First of all, hydrogen. I should write buses here on the slide. Because we are going to buy 20 hydrogen buses in this year, and we are trying to establish also first hydrogen fueling station in our city, and we are very interested in cooperation in this area. Next slide, please. The biggest proud, I think, in our city, one of the best Polish ITS system, implemented in all city area with every traffic lights and with full use of artificial intelligence. Thanks to our ITS system, we have lower congestions and smaller traffic, about 30%. Next slide, please. Also, our transportation infrastructure is the best, I think, in the zero area, because our local bus station and our smart bus shelters are now currently zero, because they are powered by cameras. Also, next slide. Also, we have, as I said, self-sufficient bus station, and with heat pumps also. Next slide, please. And as I said, all transportation infrastructure, including powered by PV panels, electric bicycles and electric scooters stations. Next slide, please. Now we have another part of our intelligent system. It is a smart parking zone, one of the best also in Poland, because also with AI systems, which provide every car to a free parking place in our smart parking zone. Next, please. As I said, we are in the EU mission now, so I think you have to remember three things about our city. One, as I said, we are next to Ukrainian border. Second, we are in the EU net zero mission. And third, I think, our ITS system. So next 10 slides, please. Green areas next. Next, please. Next is pollution emission policy, also biodiversity, and so on and so on. Next, please. Next, please, because I have, as I said, this is our newest thing. We are with another 4 cities from Poland. We are in the Net Zero Cities mission. Now we received from the European Commission a pilot project, so we will create our climate city contract, which will provide us to be a net zero in the 2040. Next, please. Our green policy, we're trying to establish green area for every citizen in distance 10-minute walk. Next, please. Next, please. Of course, water and waste management. Next, please. Next. And of course, with a new solution, for example, citizens' application, we're trying to also create education for our citizens. Next. So thank you for your attention. As I said, 2 things about our city. Next to Ukraine,
ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Felix, for joining us. Our next speaker will be Mayor Grant Smith, Palmerston North, New Zealand.
Kia ora, ni hao. Welcome from New Zealand. I'm here at Palmerston City in New Zealand, and this is the third time that I've presented to this forum, but the first time in person. We're a small city of around 100,000 people, but we're trying to be a smart city. So we have a number of foundations there around strategy, the talent to carry out this work, data. Data is so important that we collect data to make good informed decisions, back with policy, and ultimately delivering. So progress to date. We're the first city in New Zealand to have full 5G access, both mobile and broadband. We have significant renewable energy generation. New Zealand is very fortunate that 85% of our nation's electricity is generated by renewables. It's mainly hydro and wind power, and in Palmerston you can see turbines in the background there. We're very fortunate to have four of the largest wind sites in the southern hemisphere. We've developed a digital twin model of the city, and also completed computer vision traffic monitoring trials, and we've been partnering with universities, including our own university, Massey University, to create new models and ultimately that public value experts. Some current experiments that we're doing, and this is around using technology in general to improve biodiversity and development. We've had some endangered native species, birds, being reintroduced into some of our reserves, parks, and using AI and technology to track where they are. We've obviously using scaling and monitoring and use of commercial processes and cameras. We are also enabling a huge amount more co-design and public engagement with design experts. So upcoming projects is scaling the current environmental monitoring around everything that the public does around whether we're tracking on roads, we're tracking playground use, and really incorporating that into the design-making process. We're fine-tuning council's policies to enable the public to receive instant feedback. Think about ChatGPT. It's really getting those submissions and being able to instantly being able to understand what the main issues are, rather than having staff take a lot of time to do that. The same with building consents, getting through those processes is a lot easier. And also using AI to improve our storytelling capabilities within council. Yes, please. So I'm luckily here with a couple of my officers and one of our planning managers, our planning chief planner, David Murphy, and our climate change manager, Adam Jarvis. Just on the use of electricity within the city, we ourselves generate a lot of electricity ourselves through our small hydro schemes on our city's dams, and also with the wind farms beyond the city dam. But I'd just like to acknowledge people of Taiwan and thank you for the opportunity to be here again, and look forward to learning from all the city mayors and delegations here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. Our next speaker will be Mayor Park Gyeong-gui, Asan City, South Korea.
Hello, I'm Mayor Park Gyeong-gui of Asan City and the Republic of Korea. Yesterday, Asan City is a resource city. For example, Asan City is responsible for 11% of exports in Korea. Research 75.4 billion in export. And Asan City is also a cultural city where festivals and performances are held year-round. While Korea faces demographic cliff and rural poverty, Asan City saw a twofold increase in population for the first time in 10 years, becoming a place where everyone wants to live. Asan City is implementing a smart carbon policy to realize carbon neutrality in various fields such as industry, transportation, and building management, and to resolve urban problems. Notably, Asan City is now promoting a smart traffic policy in the second Hangyong New Town, and will use a large amount of carbon in transportation. The Hangyong second urban project is a project to build a new town with an area of 3.57 million square meters and a population of 46,000 by investing $2.65 billion. We will realize carbon neutrality by 2029. When the project is completed through balanced specialization measures for carbon reduction and consumption. To realize carbon neutrality in the transportation field, the traffic volume and the number of cars and the number of gas should be reduced deeper distributing environmentally friendly cars such as EVs and hydrogen vehicles. In order to make entire new town harmonious city, Hangyong Second is divided into living zone to show regional characteristics such as connection with surrounding areas and appropriately distribute core city functions so that all their lives such as work, life, culture, and consumption can be done onto living zone. We designed a city that used almost no energy for transportation by locating offices, housing, and cultural commercial places in the east mid, thereby realizing a 15-minute neighborhood. As a solution to the problem, the second Hangyong New Town will establish high-tech public transportation system based on ICT. This smart public transportation system consists of autonomous shuttles and integrated transit centers. It is the basic means of the transportation and will help you get to your office or commercial places in the city's most crowded place. The transportation policy of Asan City is introduces smart city technology will present a smart solution that prevents environmental pollution and waste of energy to save the time. The natural friendly policy that absorbs carbon is smart policy that can simultaneously satisfy the two effects of realizing carbon neutrality and improving the quality of life of citizens. Hangyong Second was designed as a city where nature can be preserved with a street-side park or wind road, coast road, or walking paths, and bicycle road with a street-side view or frame to provide a place to replace and city. The street-side bicycle path, personal mobility road, and pedestrian path along the street in the Tangyeong second town will provide the resident with easy access to natural place to relax from stupid traffic congestion. As a result, the resident will feel that cars are not their daily necessity. This is all we have for to introduce our urban transportation cost for NetGel. Thanks for listening. 감사합니다.
Thank you, Mayor Park, for your presentation. Last but not least, let us welcome Taiwan's representative, Professor Jin-Li Hu, Department of Business Administration at the National Yangming Jiaotong University.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Taiwan. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor and pleasure to share the commitment and efforts of Taiwan to head for 2050 net zero emissions. Next slide, please. We know that we want to head for the net zero emissions. We need policies and actions at both macro and local levels. So at the macro level, we have released the pathway of the heading for the net zero emissions to 2050 in the year of 2022. And there will be 4 transitions included, including the transition of energy, industry, and lifestyle, as well as the social transition. And next, please. And for the firms, of course, they want to make profits. So we need to provide the economic incentives for them to reduce carbon. So starting from next year, Taiwan will start to charge so-called carbon fees on those highly emitting firms first. And the carbon fees will be collected by the Environmental Administration, Protection Administration. And now we plan to charge at least $10 per ton. And those big emitting firms, including 287 firms with the limits more than 25,000 tons, will be imposed with the carbon fees first. Next, please. And also, we need to provide the technological advice and consulting to help the firms as well as the society to head for net zero transition. So there will be 2x2, net zero transition. So what do we mean by 2x2? The first one is on the low carbon and zero carbon emission. We think that we should head for low carbon emission first, and then we can head for zero carbon emission. And second one is trying to link the industry and carbon emission together. So we will have 2x2 net carbon transition. Next, please. And also, in order to provide more economic incentive, our Financial Supervisory Commission has released a so-called Corporate Governance 3.0 to ask all the big listed and over-the-counter firms to release annual report on sustainability, or so-called the ESG report every year, which is starting from this year, the year of 2023. So now these big firms, listed firms, are now reviewing their carbon emission and other ESG measures to increase their performance as well as to share the information with the public and all of the stakeholders. Next, please. And if you look at the streets of Taiwan, you can see a lot of people riding the scooters. So the scooters have been a large source of the mobile emission. Okay, so in this case, we have already set up a target that all scooters will be electric by the year of 2040. Of course, in order to do so, as the Israeli representative just said, it's about the behavior, people's behavior. So we also try to change the behavior and by providing the battery swap stations as well as a lot of electricity charging device. Okay. Next, please. And at the local level, we have, for example, not limited to the Kaohsiung city, which is an ocean city in Taiwan. They also have their own commitment to net zero emissions. So they ask all the stakeholders, including the local residents and as well as the local firms, to be involved in the net zero emissions. And also, this city tried to join the big blueprint of Taiwan to develop renewable energy. So now they have a target to generate at least 1.25 gigawatts of solar energy in 6 years. And because of their efforts and achievements, they are being certified and rewarded by the 2022 Asian Pacific Sustainability Action Awards. Next, please. And a lot of people talk about Taiwan's semiconductor industry, and they call it as the silicon shield for Taiwan. And we know that Taiwan has been devoting itself for the regional cooperation and the regional development and the regional peace. And with TSMC, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic time, we have been a major supply of the semiconductor products to help the industry all over the world to continue their service and development. So TSMC, as a leader of the semiconductor industry in the world, has also committed itself to RE100, which means that it will aim at the target of the 100% use of renewable energy. Okay. And also, it has been engaged in those ESG and sustainable development efforts by releasing its ESG information annually and try to also affect its supply chain partners to join the ESG service and targets. Next, please. So, as the hostess just said, the last but not the least, I think that Taiwan wants to devote her efforts and take her part in the net zero emission movement in the world. So let's use the Oscar Prize winner's title. So we think that network zero emission is for everyone, everything, and everywhere. And no more climate casino should be tolerated. And it is the cheapest way to achieve net zero emission right now. Okay, so we should take action right now. If we take actions later, then the cost will be even higher. And finally, I want to show our attitude and commitment. Taiwan can commit, and Taiwan can devote, and finally, Taiwan can help. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Hu. And I will now turn the program back to Mr. Hu from E3, who will be moderating the next discussion.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for all the presentation today. I learned so much from your presentation, and I certainly feel so heartwarming about your expression of the support to Taiwan. Thank you very much. And we are running a little bit late, but I think we can still have question or comment from the floor. Anybody want to add some opinions or asking questions for the presentation? Okay. Well, I think we still have a lot of time to do interaction, so let's proceed to the next session. So this session is officially closed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hu, for moderating panel discussion 1.